Okay, House on Pleasant Street channel YouTube. Going to be playing with the 302s today. I did a video before kind of showing what I had bought. What I'm going to do now is I got my I got my gasket kit in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to at least attempt to reseal this engine. Before I start dismantling this engine, I'm going to tear open into this junk 302. So this is the engine I'm planning on using for the project. And but before I tackle this one, I'm going to take the heads off. I'm going to take the manifolds off just to get a feel for how things come apart. And I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll find something out on here that I didn't know. And who knows? Maybe the parts on here could be salvaged, and maybe some stuff could be reused on that one. But anyway, this one's on the floor. I'm going to start breaking it down just a little bit, just to see what I have. I just consider this extra bits, but I will break it down and then get this moved out of the way. And depending on how this goes, I would like to jump into this one. Okay, let's jump into this, see what we got. Okay, so I got the both exhaust manifolds off. It literally took 10 minutes. And here they are. This engine was supposedly in a Ford Bronco. If I would maybe explain this one is a straight going through the back, and this one is angled down. So these look good. These could be spares for me, so I'm going to hang on to them. But yeah, got those off in about 10 minutes. You certainly cannot do that on a modern F-150. I also, the spark plugs look brand new in this old engine. And again, this was a running engine. It just smoked like crazy because it was original, I was told. Spark plugs look good. So I'll throw them in with my, can we see that? Not really focusing, but anyway. I'm going to take the plugs out, and then I'm going to pull the heads off and see how this goes. All right, guys. Well, there it is. Honestly, it's like maybe 20 minutes later. Both heads are off, and even the fuel pump is off. And at a glance, the junk 302 does not really look that bad. It does not look horrible. So, kind of glad about that, because it was a total shot in the dark when I bought this. Well, it was a total shot in the dark when I bought that. This was 500. This was 200. So off of this so far, looks like I got a couple of heads that are salvageable. And I pilfered the intake manifold and the carburetor that were on here. This was running. It just was running like crap, burning oil and stuff. So, but at a glance, it does not look horrible. So I bought it essentially for the intake manifold and the carburetor. So it looks like now I've got a few good spare parts that I can reuse. So now that I've lightened this up a little bit, I'm going to shuffle this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to jump onto this engine. I'm going to take the auxiliaries that are off the front. And I had a new buddy of mine that I met, the guy that's really helping me out with my build. He's got a lot of good connections. He's the guy who's going to get me a transmission for this. He took one look at these, and he told me that these were fuel-injected heads. So maybe that's what they meant when they overhaul this engine at some point. They put more modern heads on, because he decoded the block for me. The block is a 72, and he decoded this block for me, the junk block, that it was in the 77 Bronco. Turns out that this is a 74. And obviously it was adapted for the truck. That's why it's got this style of oil pan. So I think I got some good parts here. I think it was well worth the money. So again, I'm going to put this out of the way for now. I may redo these heads, put them on here. If I take these heads off and they're bad, then I might have a shot at these ones. So what I'm going to do now is jump onto this engine. I want to do kind of the same thing. I want to take the manifolds off. I'm going to take the heads off. And when I take the heads off this time, I'm going to undo all the rocker gear assembly on that. On this one here, I just pulled everything off as is. And my plan is I'm going to take these heads into work with me when I go back to work next week. And I'll be able to take them down where I work. I'll be able to soak them, and I'll be able to strip them down and yeah, we'll see what we got. Once these heads are off, I'll be able to see just what my bores are really like. Maybe the junk engine's better. Don't know. We'll find out in just a bit here. Okay, well, here we are. My engine, I've got both heads off. And so far, what I see, I really like. Everything looks good. This engine is clean. I mean, was it recently overhauled? Probably not. Was it overhauled at one time? I'd say most likely. Very, very little ridge, almost nothing here. The piston tops look really good, little clean. I'm going to put a bit more lubricant in here. Maybe a bit of a leak down test, see if anything gets by. And that goes the same on both sides. I think this is good. Now, all of my lifters, I can spring them back and forth. So I think that's a good sign. Lifters are, these are designed, they're spring loaded, designed to fill with oil also, and it cushions the push rod. These all feel really good. So again, now for example, yeah, they're all good. I've checked them before I started filming. Now, am I supposed to be pushing my finger in there like this? I think so. I will do a little bit more research. Certainly not hard at this point to change them out. All you got to do is grab them and pull them. I think these are good. Now, on the junk engine that ran but was rattly, I cannot move any of those lifters. On this engine here, it's almost like the lifters are solid. I cannot. It's like they're jammed. It's hard as a rock. They're jammed. So that could explain the. Excuse the sound effects. Anyway, the junk engine, the bores are not horrible either. I mean, this engine is obviously a lot dirtier, but this could be a good candidate for an overhaul. I think what I'm going to do with this engine is I'm not going to touch it. I'm not even going to pull out a piston or anything like that. I'm going to go with what's there. It looks good. Like I said, I'm not looking for a drag car or anything. The issue when you start opening things up like this, when somebody else has been in there, and this has happened to me before, is I could, for example, go online, order an overhaul kit, pull a piston out, only to realize that this has been bored out at some point and all my parts don't fit. And this is, weeks coming, weeks returning. What do I have? And then I got to go find oversized stuff. This looks good. There's no scratches or gouges. I'm calling this good. I'm taking a chance on this. Now, I did take the heads off because, well, that's easy. I'm going to take the heads into work, like I mentioned. In my seal kit came the valve seals. So especially where this engine has been sitting for a long time, if the valve seals, which are only rubber, as if anybody watching this would know that, these could be dried up and cracked and burnt out. So, usually your valve seals is what will give you that puff of blue smoke every once in a blue moon, or sometimes very often. So anyway, I'm going to take these into work with me. I'm going to clean them. I've got a valve spring compressor that I can borrow from my brother-in-law. He owns a garage. I will get the valve spring compressor. I will soak these heads. I will clean them. I'll take the valves out, look at them, clean them up. Hopefully they're good. Put this all back together and call these good. Now, these are the fuel injected heads. Of course, my project's going to be carbureted. These are the heads off of the junk engine. Can certainly be overhauled. Let me see if I can, let's flip over a good one here. If I can do this one-handed. There we go. Now everything, of course, I can't see the margins or anything, but I will once I take them apart. But so far what I see, that looks good. That looks good, but I do have the seals. The seals are dirt cheap, and I'll do this without. There we go. Lost a bolt or two. As I was saying, the seals I already have. They're part of the seal kit. I may as well. That way there I can fully inspect the valves and I can look at the seals, replace them. I can compare the springs, all that good stuff. Now, I think this is a good candidate for an overhaul. I will do one thing before I jump into these heads. These are the heads I want to use, but I got to make sure that my little chrome valve covers from Summit Racing are going to fit, because I do want the I did some work. You probably saw that before in a previous video. Those valve covers, they're shiny and blue and they look great. These were on this old junk engine. So I did clean those up. Those can be sort of a backup. That engine over here, my newer engine, that's the one with the fuel injected heads. That came with the more modern style of covers. I don't like the look of those. So yeah, I've got 3 sets of valve covers. I want to go with the chrome. I want to make sure the chrome is going to fit these ones. And I think they will, but I will test fit just before. Exhaust manifolds that came off this one, I'm hoping these are going to work. They look good. But depending on, I'm not sure what kind of car this was in, but depending on my application, you know, some have to be turned down, some come down in the middle, some go straight back. So I've got these 2. And where did I put I've got the 2 that are off the junk engine. So there's one of those ones that goes straight back. So there's a possibility there. I can mix and match, and yeah, I think I can make this work. Here's all the rocker gear and stuff. And I was a bit more careful on the heads that I want to keep. I got everything organized so that everything is going to go back in its proper place and order. That's the proper way to do it. So yeah, so I'm going to oil these lifters. I'm going to cover this engine back up. I will put some fluid down the cylinders to see if it stays in there or if it disappears. Now I had done that before, but see, some had fluid and some didn't. So I'm going to put some in each one. I'm going to put the cover over. I'm going to walk away. These are coming with me next week. Okay. That's where I'm at with the 302. Latest update. And there's more to come on this build. So stay tuned. Okay, we're going to continue here with the 302. Here I've got the fuel injected heads. I brought them down to the workbench at work. I got a valve spring compressor. So here we go. Now we're going to start with one head at a time. I'm going to pop all these valves out and see what we have, see what the condition of the valves is. We'll take a look at the faces and the margins, and hopefully we have a good product. I would like to reuse these heads. The chrome valve covers will fit. So let's get on with this. Okay, so I got my valve spring compressor in place. I've got the clamp on. I'm just tightening on the bottom here, clockwise. That compresses the spring. I've already got one out. I'm showing you how the clamp is set up here. I've already got one out. Here's one valve. I believe this is an exhaust valve. I'm going to be looking at all of them. I'm going to be cleaning them up, lapping them back in, and changing the seals. I'm also going to have a quick peek at the spring, make sure everything's there, the little keepers. So yeah, let's carry on. Let's get this all stripped down, get these old gaskets scraped off, get this degreased and cleaned, maybe give this a coat of paint even, and get these valves cleaned up and all back in here. 2 heads to do. Okay. Alright, so there's one head all broken down. I managed to keep everything organized like I said I would. I will try my best to keep it this way. So make sure that every valve, keeper, spring, everything goes back in their respective holes, the same ones that came out. This is one exhaust valve. Yesterday I took it to the wire wheel, cleaned it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see this, but it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. I will lap them in. I will wire wheel them, get all the black carbon off and stuff, and I will lap them back in place, so that'll make sure I get a nice continuous seal all around the valve here. and on the seat, which is on the other side of the head here. So this one here a little bit cleaned up. Here's an intake valve that I did not clean up, so there's the stuff on there. So the margins look kind of thin on these ones, but these are the intakes, so they don't run as hot. I'm not sure. I might have to refer to my manual to make sure if these are good. They look okay. Seals look good, but like I said, rubber, plastic, whatever you want to call it. I do have new ones. The springs, not much to these. Make sure they're not. I'm just going to compare all the heights. Make sure they're not collapsed or cracked or anything. They look pretty good. The intake valves, I'll try to show this on the other head. The intake valves, although the spring is much softer, they're harder to come apart because this center part here, once you compress the spring, this center part then has to be pushed down to release the keepers. So why these ones are so much tougher, I don't know. I'll try to show it on the next head. But you do have to compress the spring, then you have to sort of tap on that. You've got to tap on this to get it to go down, and then the keepers come out. So here's where this is it. I'm going to start wire wheeling these right now, and I'm going to have a look at the springs. And once that's done, I'm going to flip this head over. I'm going to clean it, or yeah, I will clean it first, and I'll flip it over, and then I will start get some lapping compound and start lapping these valves in. Okay, so here's an example of the two intake valves. Here's one that I've cleaned up. Looks pretty good. Not bad at all. I'm doing this one-handed, of course, and there's one before I clean it up. So all I'm doing is you see all the little fuzzy bits and stuff. I'm just running these on the wire wheel. That's just kind of a before and after. And actually, when I look at this intake valve here, I can see a little bit of a ring on the face, so kind of a good sign. I think they're going to be good. So okay, so you get the idea now. I am going to carry on and wire wheel all this, and we'll check back in a bit. Okay, so I've cleaned the faces for the where the intake manifold is going to go in, as well as the exhaust. Got those faces. So I used a scraper here to take any of the remnants, and then I've got this light sanding block there to clean that up. So now I'm just taking off the remainder of the head gasket. I'm going to scrape this down nice and clean. We're not getting carried away here. I'm not having this planed and polished or nothing. This is just a clean up and a reseal. So I'm going to scrape off the remnants. Then I'm going to take my sanding block and polish off a little bit. I would like to soak these. I don't know if I can find a container big enough. Maybe soak them was my idea. I might, maybe not. Maybe I won't have to. At least here I do have compressed air, and I can blow all the debris away. I will degrease a little bit, but yeah, this is coming off nice. Nice to have a nice working surface to work on. Yeah. Just little remnants of the head gasket coming off good. Very good, very nice. Okay, well, you get the idea. I'm going to keep cleaning this up, and then the next time I film again, maybe we will start lapping our valves in. See if we can get a good contact surface in here. Okay. Okay, so I'm lapping my first valve. I've got some valve grinding compound on here. Put a little bit. This is my first intake valve. So back and forth, quarter turns. There's all kinds of different instructions on this, but basically just trying to mate the face with the seat to get a nice even ring all around, so that during the compression stroke, then you get no leak by or blow by around the valves, and yeah, makes for better compression, less losses, more efficient. Anyway, let's don't really have to press too hard, just got to work the compound around it. It's kind of like a gritty substance, almost like a sandpaper. Alright, let's see what kind of ring we got on this one. Okay, so here is my valve, and if that can focus a little bit, you can see all around here there's a little, it's pretty much an even ring, which means that face is sealing with the seat that's part of the head. So the seat and the head is right here. You can see, can we see a shiny ring? Yeah, we can kind of see a shiny ring all around. That looks pretty good. Looks even. I mean, I've seen a lot worse, that's for sure. The only thing is this I don't know how wide this ring should be. I don't think it necessarily needs to be the whole width of this angle part, but I'm going to do a little bit more, and then I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get them all done. Pretty clean. You know, a ring all around means you've got a good contact, a good seating surface. Okay, so I got one set of heads. I've got all the lapping done. These are all my valves over here that have been lapped, and now I'm going to start on the reassembly. So you can see, there's my valve here. I'll just pull it out. You can see it's got a nice even ridge all the way around. So that means it's going to make a nice contact surface. Also the seat has the same. Now my ring around here, I've seen different ones. My ring around here is not super wide, but it's even all around. I don't want to take any more material off than I have to. I've got the stem nice and lubed up. So I'm going to put this back in here. So in my kit, like I mentioned, I got the valve stem seals. Now, intake and exhaust. The exhaust ones are shorter, squatter. That's how my kit came. When I opened the engine up, intake and exhaust were identical. So I don't know if somebody just put a bunch of intake or if kits vary. Maybe some things vary from kit to kit, but anyway, intake, exhaust in the new kit. These are the old ones. Gonna discard those. And here we go. I got my valve spring compressor handy. I'm gonna pop the new seals on, and I've already checked all the springs. Everything looks good. I've cleaned them down with a brake cleaner. I'm gonna oil them. I got a little bottle of engine oil here. I can put little squirts on for oiling everything up, and it goes back together. And I'm going to put this back together and see how it goes. I've got all the mating surfaces cleaned up. So intake, exhaust, and where the head gasket's going to go, this is all nice and smooth. Should be good to go. Okay, let's get this one head back together with the new seals, and then we can start on the second head. Okay, so this is showing the first exhaust valve in with the valve spring compressor compressed down. Now I'm just going to put a little dab of grease on these keepers. I'm going to take the tip in. I'm going to need two hands to do this, so I'll have to put the camera down. I grab these with a screwdriver on the tip, a little dab of grease. I drop them in place, one on each side, and I slowly release the clamp, and everything falls into place right. Then they're good to go. So we got this one to do, Then I gotta carry on. See how this goes. Okay, so I got the first exhaust valve in. Went pretty good. I'm just going to quickly show how I do it. I mean, everybody has their own ways, but what I do is I take the keeper, and usually these are a little bit magnetized. I put a little dab of grease on the inside of the keeper. Then I pick it up with a screwdriver, and I bring it in, and I kind of drop it in place. A little bit tougher with one hand, but I mean, if you could do this, see, there's one there. Just about in place. Excuse me. I'm going to pick up the other one, same way. And bring that one in. Just got to sort of maneuver it. Drop it in the hole. And I don't want to say that they self-align, but it's pretty good. Like they're both pretty much in the vicinity now, so I just got to jig them around a little bit until the grooves are close. And then I release the clamp slowly, and everything falls into place. They're either in or they're not. So if they fall into place, then you don't have to worry. They're good to go. Like this one here, you can see. The two halves are perfect. And it doesn't matter which way the halves go. If they rotate it out, that makes no difference. So there we go. I'm going to put this camera down because I do want two-hand control on this clamp. And I'm going to release this. And these are going to fall into place. And we're going to call this one done. And we're going to move on. Them all done. Okay, so I've got one head done. I'm just starting on the second one. I'm not going to film this whole process. There's just one thing I want to point out. On these 302s, when it comes to the intake valve, I'm going to show you a close-up of this because I looked at several videos online and I could not find the answer to this. Exhaust valve. Okay, the exhaust valve spring is a lot tougher, so it's a lot harder to compress. But once you do compress it, the two little keepers, or the locks, they basically just fall out. But on the intake valve, now the intake valve spring is a lot softer. So the spring is easy to compress, so it's a lot easier to handle this tool and everything. But when you push down on your spring for the intake valve, this little ring stays up and the keepers are in that ring. And the only way to do this is to push down on this ring. Now, see, I've got a screwdriver in there. It doesn't look very proper, but I see no other way. And this ring has to be pushed down because although your spring is compressed all the way, this is still all locked in place. And you can't move the valve down because if you have this type of spring compressor, it's like a big C-clamp, and the other end is holding right on the face of the valve. So the only way to get this down, and that's what I had to do with the other ones, is put something in here. Now maybe brass or something would be better, but I just put the screwdriver tip like that with a little mallet, and I give it a couple taps all around. Give it a couple taps all around, and eventually this drops down and your keepers fall out. So I was having a hard time with my first one when I did it, and I found no real. Now this is for a Ford 302. You know, when you do this kind of work, I mean, it's very similar to if you do this kind of work, like on a large Caterpillar. It's the same principle, basically, but every one is a little bit different. And this little ring here that stays stuck in the up position, this is on a Ford 302. Now Chev could be completely different. This is for a 302. So I just got to keep that in mind. And you got to tap on it, you know, a little bit more than I would have thought. You know, you never want to force anything when you're doing this, but you do have to tap down on this. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to carry on with this head. And there it is there. I just forced down that ring. That ring is now down the hole. And now the keepers are free to come out. There's one keeper. Slightly magnetized, thank God. There's one. And here's the other. So now I can release the spring and everything comes apart nice and easy. But you do have to get that force down there. And you need not heavy taps, but you do need quite a few taps to get it to break loose. Okay.